Yeah, we about to do it. Watch us get into it. We some lumberjacks, and we need you wood. Yeah, we going for the sweet, then we mop it up. We put it all on the block, and then we chop it up, 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 chop it up. We put it all on the block, and then we chop it up.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday night, and that means one thing only. It appears that we're going to have some havoc wreaked tonight, and I've already smelt the diesel being poured in that damn truck. But we are live on TikTok. We are live on YouTube as always. This is the Chopping Block Podcast, presented by DJ's Clam Shack here in St. Augustine, Florida, who has some great tacos, but not the taco that I have tonight that is homemade. Should have done last night for Taco Tuesday. Hope all you boys are jealous for that. But this is the NFL show led by Beast of Kane. Take it away. Let's wreak some havoc.
Welcome to the show, baby. About to reach some havoc. Thoroughbred havoc. Coach Reich, ego. Hey, man, we hit y'all last week. It's time to get right into it. Reach some havoc, Thoroughbred.
Yes, sir. So it's the Thoroughbred Havoc and my segment, Who is Wreaking Havoc? And we're going to start with the defense because we know everyone wants to talk about offense. We'll make you wait for that one. And my defensive player wreaking havoc, it's going to be Josh Allen of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had 2.5 sacks against a hot C.J. Stroud. And I don't mean hot like Kim Kardashian hot. I mean hot as in he was playing some darn good football, and Josh Allen sacked his elusive self 2.5 times, and that puts his sack total to 12 for the year. And guys, Josh Allen of the Jacksonville Jaguars does not get talked about much, but he's 5th in sacks, and the leader's Danielle Hunter with 13.5, and Josh has 12 on the Jaguars. So he's wreaking a lot of havoc right now, Josh Allen, especially against a quarterback like C.J. Stroud, who is very difficult to sack with his escapability and elusiveness. Kudos to Josh Allen. He's my defensive player that's wreaking havoc. Now, onto the offensive side of the football, the sexy, the pizzazz, what everyone loves so much. It's got to be Jalen Hurts. And here's why. I mean, you can't argue with 5 total touchdowns. Jalen Hurts had 2 rushing touchdowns to go along with his 3 passing touchdowns. And it's funny that we're talking about this because, guys, and our audience at home isn't going to be familiar with the group chat, but all of us are. And in the group chat, we had an interesting discussion about the rain affecting the game. And Jalen Hurts got off to a very slow start because of the rain and the bad weather. He was 4 of 11 in the first half, and then he just turned on the Jets. Jalen Hurts did what he does in the second half. He put the first half behind him. He got back to his roots, ran the football well, passed the football well, had 2 rushing touchdowns, had 3 passing touchdowns. Jalen Hurts played his game, which he always does. And that's what I appreciate about Jalen Hurts, guys. He doesn't try to be Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. He goes out there, he runs the football, and he passes the football, and he scores touchdowns, and he doesn't care how he gets in the end zone, and he had 5 total touchdowns. So my offensive player wreaking havoc is going to be Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, and like I was saying, guys, listen, we did have a little bit of contention in the group chat talking about some rain. Talk about some rain like it was only raining on the Eagles. It was raining on both teams, okay? And then they had this, and Tony talking about Josh Allen got these big hands, and his hands are so much bigger. 0.375 bigger, not even a half an inch. What?
A fingernail.
A finger. Thank you. I don't even think it's a fingernail because a fingernail may be an inch smaller than a fingernail. Okay, man, that's just BS, man.
That's that
the Bills was just nailing the Eagles. That's all it was to it. And Jalen Hurts, being the resilient man that he is, he found a way to get back into the game. It had nothing to do with the rain. And nobody don't want to hear that when you got a loaded team like the Eagles do. Okay, the kicker. Well, didn't the kicker, one of the kicker kick like a huge field
59
goal?
yarder.
59-yard field goal. You don't think the rain affects the kicker? Man, I don't want to hear nothing about no rain for the rest of the year. You understand me? Hey, listen, man. I hear something. Oh, dumpster juice. Talk to me, coach.
All right, my man B. Since it was the holidays, we know it was a lot of trash all over the globe. But since this is the Chopping Block podcast, all trash comes in different bags. So I ain't everywhere. I'm just going to make 2 stops. But in my 2 stops, it's a whole lot of trash in both stops. And the first stop I'm going to make is I'm going to go to Minnesota. Now you say, is it a player in Minnesota? Is it a coach in Minnesota? Is it the organization? No, it was a ball game between the Bears and the Vikings, which was the trashiest game I've seen in 56 years, and I only been on this earth for 51. That was the boringest game that I have ever seen, and Chicago comes out of this game with a victory and didn't score a touchdown. I seen more highlights in a Pee Wee football game than I seen in that Bears Vikings game. It was hard to watch. So I don't know what the TV ratings were. I don't know how the fans may have felt for Chicago or Minnesota, but I can tell you, if you was in the stands and you was cheering, if you was at home, you was cheering, I can't be around you. You need to wash your armpits because obviously you like to roll in a dumpster because that ball game was straight trash. Now, an organization that's pure trash, so much that it took this long for you to even get rid of a coach. You've already tied your losing record from the previous year. And we still got 6 games to go. So you Carolina Panthers, I'm going to tell you, buddy, that whole organization, 1-10, you boys are straight trash. But I'm not leaving Carolina because now it's finna be some feathers getting ruffled off in this trash truck. And I'm going to say it right now, and it's Mr. Bryce Young. I don't care who wants to pull on his coattail and defend him. I've heard all kind of stories that the separation percentage between his receivers and other receivers is one of the lowest of the NFL. If you're digging up separation stats, buddy, your shovel is about 30 feet deep trying to find an excuse to protect this boy. The bottom line is it ain't gonna work. You're 1-10. Last year you were 7-10, but you say he's always on his back with the same offensive line that you had last year, so you still intact. So there ain't no excuse. Get another shovel for that. You say, well, he can't get any separation. Well, it's funny that old Red Rooster came in the ball game and threw 34 for 58 for 361 yards and 2 touchdowns. So it was some separation somewhere, and it wasn't in divorce court, buddy. It was on the field. So, Bryce Young, you're down 7 points. Last play of the ball game. You're in the NFL. Guess what? Pass interference is a spot foul. So why would you not chunk the ball deep and maybe get a pass interference, get yourself in 1st and goal, tie up the ball game, take it to overtime? But no, because he's such a great player, one of the best ever to play the game, let's throw it out in the flats for 2 yards and just go home. So the bottom line is this: not trashing him, not saying that he won't have an NFL good career, not saying he can turn it around, but for anybody to think that it ain't Bryce Young's fault that the Carolina Panthers are where they're at. You're in the truck with him because Bryce Young, you are straight trash. And I'm going to park it in Carolina's parking lot because I know next week I got another load to pick up there.
Speaking of that trash and that separation, I think, all right, had a separation. Now, from what I've been digging, not quite with a shovel, but with a toothpick, I heard that Frank Reich did not want Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I heard that he wanted C.J. Stroud.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're gonna tell me that you're gonna fire this man after 11 games? Was that right, Digo?
I'll be honest. I think this is we'll never know if it's how bad of a mistake this is unless he gets another job in the NFL and he takes a team to the playoffs or whatever. But it don't make sense for me. I mean, how do the season's worse than last year already. I get that. But can you really put that on this coaching staff? I don't know. Number one, I don't know how Matt Rule was fired last year when his team almost made the playoffs, knowing that they had, a top 5 draft pick coming in. But they made some trades to get that pick in the draft. And you so-called got your guy as an organization, and it just has not worked out well. And I think there has been a disconnect between the head coach and maybe ownership. And I think that's why he's gotten the boot, more or less, disaster that we've seen on the field. I just don't think he's really been given a chance. And I think this is a scapegoat situation. Ownership don't like him. Don't even want to give it a couple more years. Hey, let's buy this guy out. He'll be okay. And they'll go and try to find their little puppet master is what it seems like. But I agree. If they wanted C.J. Stroud, or if he wanted C.J. Stroud and ownership decided to go with Bryce Young, they need to own that decision. And I think that is why he is the scapegoat, because they can't own the situation. They are taking it out on this man, send him packing. It's very unfortunate, and it almost sounds like, Coach, if he would have had it his way a lot more this year, I think you would have seen Andy Dalton a whole lot more. Andy Dalton's not a bad quarterback, been in the playoffs multiple times. I don't think he's ever won a playoff game, but he's been a lot. And I think the right move, I think this shows how bad the organization is right now. I don't even know who's in charge there, and I don't want to know because they're doing a horrible job. But it's like you have a veteran quarterback like Andy Dalton, and you have a really good college quarterback. And the guy's talented. Let him grow into that position for a whole year. Let him learn from these guys. Let him see the speed of the game. Get the practice. You're spending millions and millions of dollars on this young kid. And then you throw him to the wolves and just expect him to grow into this, veteran quarterback in 1 year. It don't work. So I think this is shame on the Carolina Panthers organization. They are in the dumpster juice, in my opinion.
Hey, listen, when you do this right here, you got to think about it. How many people are going to want to come and take that job in Carolina? Okay? You just showed me that you are not serious. First of all, if you hired this man and fired him after 11 games, what does that say about you as an organization? If this is not your guy, why wasn't he vetted? But I don't really think it has anything to do with that. I think what it has to do, and what this looks like to me, because I don't deal with a lot of crap in corporate America, I think this guy has told them what they did not want to hear from him. In that this is your guy. I'm doing the best I can with what you gave me. And if that puts them in a position to want to prove him wrong. And the best way they can prove him wrong is to get him out of there and bring somebody else in so they can look good by saying that he was bad. It wasn't Bryce. I don't think that's going to work, because we all say it's all good to have X's and O's, but you better have some Jims and you better have some Joes. What you say, Happy?
Man, this wasn't fair at all. It wasn't Reich to answer the question. Frank Reich is a good coach, guys. For if everyone can remember, when he had Andrew Luck as his quarterback, he won 13 games and he got to the divisional round and won a playoff game. He's not a bad coach, and he's very good at developing quarterbacks. He also helped develop Nick Foles. Had a lot to do with that. And I mean, Frank Reich is a really good coach. Then him wanting CJ Stroud, that's very believable to me because Frank Reich has said multiple times he prefers a bigger, taller quarterback, as do I, as do most of us. And yeah, obviously he's paying the price. Bryce Young, he's not as big of a body as a CJ Stroud. He's not gonna handle the hits as well. Every time Bryce Young gets hit, he's closer to an injury. He doesn't have that big NFL body, and no one wanted to address that during the draft. Everyone wanted to just look at his highlights, look at his film instead of looking at his measurables. Guys, there's a reason that NFL teams value 6'4", 230-pound athlete quarterbacks, and it's because they can survive a full season. With the way this offensive line is and how many hits Bryce Young takes, I'm not convinced he can make it through a whole season. I see a lot of Kyler Murray and Bryce Young, and I don't mean that as a compliment. Trust me, I am not as high on Kyler Murray as most people are. So I think, again, and I know it's Bryce Young's rookie year, this has a lot more to do with Bryce Young and his lack of development than Frank Reich. And not to mention, whether it's Bryce Young's fault or not, with the lack of talent around him, if he were playing better, we would be talking about his talent as if they were better. But he's not. He's not producing. He hasn't had a good rookie year with a good NFL coach, in my opinion. And obviously the jury will be out. One day we'll find out if this was the right decision or not. But I do want to say one thing. And this tells you about the Panthers. This owner, Dave Tepper, he's fired 3 coaches before the end of the season. If I'm a head coach, I would not want to go there. And not to mention, here's another thing I would want to say. He gets fired and Brandon Staley doesn't. Why is that? And that's where I'll leave it.
But you know what? He probably gonna be. He's on the seat. He'll probably be out in a few weeks as well. Coach, did CJ Stroud get this man fired?
Indeed. And I'm going to tell you how. Let's just say that you own a restaurant called Barry's Burgers.
Sounds good.
You got Dalton up there managing it. You got me back there cooking it. And you say, we're going to sell burgers with extra pickles on them, the Bryce Young burger. And I say, no, dog, we need to just put extra cheese on it. If they don't want pickles, we don't need to give them pickles. But we ain't sold but 1 out of 10 of them burgers. And I kept coming to y'all saying, see, I told y'all, ain't nobody gonna buy them damn burgers. How long y'all gonna have me in the kitchen?
Yeah.
I'm on the chopping block unemployment line come tomorrow because y'all don't like the fact that I told y'all you should have gave them cheese. Don't nobody want these damn pickles.
100%.
And that's what happened to Frank Reich. He flat out told y'all from the beginning, before the draft even came around, I want CJ Stroud.
Right.
But Bryce Young is the big ticket. Let me tell you something, the difference between those quarterbacks that you named a while ago, Havoc, that he's developed, Carson Wentz, Andrew Luck. Them boys had dog in them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bryce Young don't have the dog. And that's the difference. And Frank Reich knew that. Because if you look at CJ Stroud, that boy got the dog in him. Now the difference between Wentz and Andrew Luck, you go ahead and you start a brawl out there on the field. Them 2 quarterbacks to get bloody with you.
Yeah.
They got the dog in them. But this is CJ. CJ Stroud is the dog that you see on the porch, quiet, don't do nothing, sit and lay still all day long, but walk up in the yard.
You're going to get
boy
big.
gonna beat you. So to me, I don't think he should have been fired. But honestly, when you're in an organization who don't want to listen to you, it's best that you get fired instead of quit. Because I'm a firm believer in my man Bill Parcells when he told Jerry Jones a long time ago when he left Dallas, if you ain't gonna let me pick the groceries, how you expect me to cook the meal? So I think it was unfair that the man was let go, but I think in all it was a good thing for him because there's plenty other jobs out there. It's other teams that's gonna recognize that this man is really a developer of quarterbacks, and they know what kind of quarterback he's got. And when it comes to that, you look at the teams with a quarterback who's struggling, such as a Justin Fields. You look at a team that's struggling, like Herbert in San Diego, because they're not giving him what he needs. You look at Derek Carr in New Orleans. You look at Ritter in Atlanta. You know, he may not be a head coach there, but would I bring him on the staff? Yeah, I'll bring him on the staff because those quarterbacks got dog in him. Even though we can sit here and say, well, Bryce Young has got dog in him, and I'm gonna leave it at this, but I'll take a Rottweiler over a Pomeranian any day.
You know what, man? I 100% agree, man. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna say one more thing before I go to the next slide. There's a clip out there. Now I think I saw a clip and not this in the game. I'm pretty sure it was a clip where Bryce Young was going up and down the sideline trying to pump his team up. Dude, he sounded like a little French poodle. And listen, I like the kid, but this is football. If you are not quote unquote an alpha male, you got to be a dog on that field. You talk about leading a group of men. They're gonna look at you different. You know, he just comes across as just this little. He comes across soft. I mean, he just really does. You know, I think he was well protected at Bama, and he played his butt off. He did great. When you put him in the right situation, that you know, maybe you say everything that I don't know, but he lit it. He lit it up. But that what's going on with him right now. Like they said, Eminem with the real Slim Shady stand up. The real Bryce Young don't look like the old Bryce Young.
And see, what a lot of people really need to do is they need to separate it. And it's like, it's hard for you to separate. College football is a type of football that's just like high school. It's really fan based with a lot of support. The NFL is totally different. It's full of criticism. No matter who you are, you're getting paid big bucks. And we're buying all these tickets to come to this stadium while you're getting paid the big bucks. So NFL criticism, it come a little bit different. And when I say the NFL is rough and rugged compared to college, in December, your team could be 1-10 and Santa Claus can come out on the field and the whole crowd will cheer and wave and tell the kids, there goes Santa Claus. Ask them what they did in Philadelphia years ago. They threw D-cell batteries at Santa Claus. So the NFL is a different breed. So for people to sit and think that we're just trying to talk down on him because he's from Alabama, you're wrong. He's an NFL football player. Alabama is out the window. And the reason why Alabama is out the window is he's playing somebody on defense every week that played at Alabama. So is that his enemy or is that his friend? Right. No, he's an NFL football player. You're an NFL football player. We both know if I don't win, I don't get a check. If you don't win, you don't get a check. If we call ourselves friends, when I get through stumping y'all and you become a free agent, I talk to my coach to see if we can't get you a check. But until then, you're in the NFL, buddy. And this league comes with criticism on top of criticism on top of criticism. And to take a good old page out of that great movie Django that we talked about last night, criticize, criticize, criticize. That's what you get in the NFL.
Every single day. Listen, you boys are fired up. I didn't know I was gonna get that kind of energy out of you. Y'all trying not to get fired. Listen, man. This is the coach call it. No, this ain't the war room right here. The war room coming later. This is the chopping block courtroom, and we're going to litigate some subjects, some statements right now. And we got Havoc as the prosecutor. We got Coach Price as the defense attorney, and who else but Steve Dalton as the judge with the verdict. The first statement, fellas. Hurts is MVP. Argue.
I've got to go with yes. Jalen Hurts has got to be the MVP based on the team's overall record and his statistical production. He's got 18 passing touchdowns, and he's got quite a few rushing touchdowns too. Jalen Hurts is the definition of a dual threat. So I would have to say yes, Jalen Hurts is the MVP.
Coach, prove him wrong.
Well, Your Honor, my client, Mr. Jalen Hurts, we're going to go ahead and accept the plea because we do agree with the prosecution that Jalen Hurts is the MVP. And we want to go ahead and give him that award, but we know that the season's not over, so he hadn't quite finished out his sentence. And we know he's got a little community service that he's going to have to serve next week against the San Francisco 49ers to prove that he's the MVP. But right now, Your Honor, if you don't mind, the court would like to take the plea that the plaintiff is giving us that Jalen Hurts is the MVP.
Wow, that's a different angle. Steve Dalton bring the verdict.
Well, I heard there is nothing but a hung jury in this case, and prosecution made a good point. Defense made a good point. Let's throw it all out, and if we have to meet again in a couple months, we will do so.
Man, you boys act like y'all done spent some time in the courtroom.
I have.
Okay. Okay. Now have it. I want to. Okay, this next statement that I'm going to make. I'm not asking you if you agree with the statement. I'm asking you to argue that Herbert is greater than Allen, and Coach will argue the backside. All right. So you got to argue whether you believe it or not that Herbert is greater than Allen.
No, it's funny that this is a topic. I actually do think he's better, like legitimately. Justin Herbert is very similar to Josh Allen. The only difference is, as opposed to using his athletic ability to run and get first downs or touchdowns, Justin Herbert uses his athletic ability to create throwing lanes and extend the play, a la Ben Roethlisberger. So Justin Herbert's a different type of quarterback. He's more of the type that I prefer, which is a tall pocket passer who can extend the play. That's athletic. Not an athlete playing quarterback, a pocket passer who's athletic. Josh Allen was a different animal, guys. Remember, when Josh Allen was drafted, he wasn't an accurate passer at all. It took him 3 or 4 seasons to develop his accuracy and learn how to guide a football, how to throw it with touch. Josh Allen was a raw prospect, not nearly the prodigy throwing the football that Justin Herbert is. Justin Herbert is a lot better talent than Josh Allen. And if he had a reasonable coach that, and excuse my language, that is worth a crap, we'd be having a different conversation. You give Justin Herbert the opportunities Josh Allen has had, and I would argue Justin Herbert would have done more with those opportunities.
That argument right there took the air out of the jurors. Coach, what'd you say?
Well, first of all, Your Honor, I think that Josh Allen is the better quarterback at times. But according to Exhibit A, we have surveillance that shows that when Josh Allen is in a ball game and he's making bad decisions, that is Herbert offensive coordinator in his uniform. Because the decisions that he's making are not the decisions that you would expect to come from Josh Allen to blow ball games late. You're used to seeing him drive late to win ball games, but as far as Herbert goes, he's known for taking over ball games at the beginning of a game and letting his team close it out for him. So to me, I feel that Josh Allen is the better quarterback unless you got some form of surveillance to show that it was not him in that uniform. And we want to argue the fact that when Josh Allen is not on his game, Your Honor, that is not him in the uniform. And we would like the motion for the evidence to be submitted that Herbert's offensive coordinator was actually in Josh Allen's helmet.
Damn. You talking about Shapiro is in the house tonight. What do you say, Judge?
Well, fellas, I'm going to take a page out of Django again. With the prosecution, I can see it, but not too good. And the defense, let me tell you something. You put it exactly. I mean, it tickled my eardrums. I agree. Josh Allen is a dog, and he might as well be an OC, in a uniform. So at this moment, the court will stand with the defense.
All right. This seems like an honorable judge. He's free. He's fair. He calls it like he see it, even if he can't see it that good. You need to prove to us that Peyton has fixed the Broncos. Go at it.
Oh, I can't go that far as him fixing the Broncos, but I can
No,
prove he's fixed Russell Wilson. He has fixed Russell Wilson. I can say that. Russell Wilson has had a career resurgence this year, 20 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So the reason I don't say he's fixed the Broncos is because they're not a guarantee to get in the playoffs. But he has fixed Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson is starting to play like the player he was in Seattle again. He's starting to go back to what he was with the Legion of Boom, which Russell Wilson, where he didn't try to do too much. He was more of a game manager and made plays when he could instead of being the let Russ cook. No, Russ, you're getting back to managing and out of the kitchen, and that's why the Broncos are playing better. Because when Russ cooks, stuff gets burned. But when Russ manages, things go well.
Hey, man, it sounds like to me that Thoroughbred Havoc is sabotaging his own client. Okay, coach, come in and fix this.
Well, Your Honor, we don't feel that Sean Payton has actually fixed the Broncos. We do agree with the plaintiff that he's fixed Russell Wilson, but in Sean's Payton defense, the Broncos is his team. And we're talking about a team that gave up 70 points early in the season. And Russell Wilson didn't look all that great. So from head to toe with the organization and the way things have turned around, and I think it's been a few team meetings that was led by Mr. Payton, my client, that he turned this organization around at the right time. Now, I have no idea how he's going to finish it with this organization, knowing that we're trying to make it to the playoffs. But if Russell Wilson does not stay on the path that Mr. Payton wants him on, then it'll look like he did not fix the Broncos, and he actually did. So I would like to say that in my client's defense, he has fixed the Broncos and he's put Russell Wilson on a tight rope.
Judge, the Broncos have won 5 games in a row. I want you to at least consider that when you make your ruling.
Well, as we remember, the ruling is always with the jury. The judge only gives the verdict. And the verdict this time, I have to say, the jury said we're going to side with the defense. But as the judge, I will make an executive decision to throw that sumbitch out sideways because let me tell you, I don't know how in the world we can sit here in this courtroom and agree with either one of you. I do agree on some evidence saying that the Broncos are 5-game winning streak. Maybe Russell Wilson's a little bit better, but the defense is what is causing this turnaround. We mentioned it: 70 points given up in the beginning of the season. That's a capital murder charge for all I look at. The Broncos defense, straight trash. The only reason they are a 5-game winning streak is not because Russell Wilson, not because Peyton. It is that defense has improved. So that is my executive decision.
Hey, I'm gonna just say one more. I'm gonna say one more thing until we move to the last one. This thing is gonna have to go to the Supreme Court. It's gonna have to get out to the court, and it's gonna have to be lifted to go to the Supreme Court. Okay, if the Carolina Panthers was 5-5, this is 1-10, and if they had one, if they were like 5-6 right now, we'll be saying they wouldn't make the dumpster juice probably, with a rookie quarterback. Well, I know Russ is not a rookie, but I still kind of feel like Peyton has done a great job this year turning that thing around. Okay, one last one. Have it. Fire Bill Belichick.
Fire Bill Belichick, the GM. Yes. Keep Bill Belichick, the head coach. Yes. Now, the reason I say that, Bill Belichick, guys, the last 5 to 7 years has done an awful job drafting. Now, when he coaches the team, he keeps them in the game. What does that tell me? It tells me he knows how to coach ball games. He knows how to keep it close, and his lack of talent is what's failing him. That's what's been happening in New England. They don't have any talent. And that's going to sound hard for a lot of Patriots fans to hear, but they just don't. I mean, when Juju Smith-Schuster is your number 2 wide receiver, that's a problem. You need to reevaluate when that happens. And then their quarterback situation. I mean, guys, I can't defend Mac Jones anymore this year. I can't. I've tried. I'm a supporter. He's a local Jacksonville kid, but Mac Jones needs this year to finish. If I were Belichick, I would keep Zappy in for the rest of the year. Just give Mac Jones a break. He doesn't need to play anymore this year. Get him off the field, put in Zappy, and see what happens. Now, Belichick, the GM, needs to be fired. They need someone else picking the players and just let Bill coach. I think age has taken over, and I think due to Belichick's age and the era he grew up in football with Bill Parcells, Tom Coughlin, that era has passed. So Belichick's drafting skills have left him.
Coach, what do you say?
Well, the defense would like to reevaluate the deal that the plaintiff is giving us, saying that, fire him as the GM, keep him as the coach. Well, we would like to accept a deal of getting rid of him as the GM, but we would also like to put a recommendation that we would like to get rid of him as the head coach.
Yes.
And reason for being that is it's time to change the paint scheme on this Volkswagen. It's been egged one time too many. It's time for a paint job.
Yes.
Every organization has to start somewhere. But if you're going to be an organization that's going to start somewhere, you need to start somewhere when you're at your worst. And like the plaintiff said, the talent level that's there is not up to par, which means no matter how good Bill is at coaching, you can't coach that talent level up too high. 2, we already know that Mr. Belichick has been fudging around with the accounting book, and that's the reason why we do have cheap players in New England. And it's time for somebody to come in and reevaluate that and look at the numbers, maybe go through a few emails or seeing what they got in the back burner and change it up because it's time to spend more money. So it's some money being hidden somewhere. I think it'll be a money laundering charge that the plaintiff said that they was going to try to pull up on us later, which is the reason why we're trying to take this plea. But as a GM, we would like to take the deal as Belichick needs to be fired. And as the defense, we would like to rest our case by saying we would like for him to be let go as head coach so that we can start this organization over new and hopefully not be back in your courtroom anytime soon, sir.
Hey,
Well,
and your honor, before you make your render your verdict, I just want to say one thing. We would like for you to be unbiased. We know that you are from Boston. We know you have close ties to this organization. So you see, you even wearing the shirt. So we want to know that you can be unbiased in this situation. We want you not to be, we don't want your vision to be blurred by the Super Bowls. We don't want to hear anything about you having Tom Brady. We want you to make an assessment based on what has happened over the last 5 years. And we hope that you can move yourself to the position of being unbiased. Make your verdict.
well, as the judge, I will accept the defense's agreement to the plea. I agree. We will fire Bill Belichick as GM and as head coach, but I would also recommend a end of the season probation period for Mac Jones to agree with the prosecution. Mac Jones will, from here on out, be on the bench, and we will reassess that situation at the end of this year. And I just also want to throw this out. There is no, it seems like there is no need for any readings of a double jeopardy, and that there may be more hearings in the future on this case and more charges presented. But I do side, and I agree with the recommendation for the defense, and I honor their plea agreement.
The court is over. All right, fellas. A little bit of trivia. Yes, trivia. I'm gonna say a phrase, and I'm gonna start with you, Habit. And I want you to give me the player that you think fits this and prove your point in a few sentences. Okay, name that player. This player is big, he's strong, he's physical, but he's flawed. Who do you got?
Josh Allen for the Buffalo Bills. Absolutely. I think he embodies this completely. Josh Allen is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. He's got a big, strong arm. He's fast. He's over 245 pounds, but he's very flawed. If you watch Josh Allen, there's usually 3 or 4 passes he throws every game that have a chance to be intercepted, and he's usually pretty loose carrying the football. It's not high and tight. It's usually down low by his stomach waist area. So Josh Allen, my point by saying that is he's very susceptible to turnovers. That's what makes him flawed. So Josh Allen definitely embodies this.
That's a great choice. I had that in mind myself. Listen, the debate team, you can either agree, we can move to the next one, or you can submit your own player.
Well, I'm gonna submit my player,
All right.
and my player is Derrick Henry. He's big, he's strong, he's physical, but this is the flaw. When is the Titans gonna go play action pass? Derrick Henry ain't in the ball game. So who are you fooling? Derrick Henry needs to be a third down back, and he's not. He'll give you 199 yards in the first quarter, and you'll lose the ball game because you only got 20 yards passing. Because guess what? When it comes to play action pass, there's no Derrick Henry in the ball game. Then when they do get a first down and he comes back on the field, take one wild guess who's going to get it on 1st and 10. But
Henry.
being big, being strong and being physical, Derrick Henry knows that the whole stadium knows I'm getting the ball, and he'll still chunk out 8 yards on you. But in 2nd and 2, if we want to go deep with play action pass, Derrick Henry's already trotted off the field. So until he becomes a complete third down back that we could actually either really get the ball to out of the backfield or at least oppose the threat that we're running the ball to be able to take advantage of play action pass, Derrick Henry is just too much of a flaw for the Tennessee Titans that you make that offense too predictable, because when he's on the field, 80% run. When he's off the field, pure play action pass.
Wow, that's a great point. I never really thought about that, but I can see how that can fit Derrick Henry. All right, what say you, Dalton?
Well, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I am not switching it up here. I'm going with A.J. Brown. And the reason I say A.J. Brown, all right, I was there in Atlanta his rookie year. The Titans come into town, and this man single-handedly beat the Atlanta Falcons that day. And when I say beat them, I think he had a reception for 72 yards. Like, the guy is unreal. But there are games where the man is non-existent. So I think he fits this perfectly. Big, strong, physical. But there is a flaw somewhere, and I think it is at the line of scrimmage. I think once he gets open and he gets the ball to him, he is dangerous. That specific play I'm talking about, I think it was a slant over the middle, and he literally took it 70-something yards. He is super fast for a big guy, but I think there is a lot of things going on that makes him a little bit flawed. I think he's slow off the line of scrimmage. I think he's almost too physical at the line with the defensive backs, and he kind of gets locked up at times. And I think it's maybe the quarterback and the offensive line, play calling. He was the most successful with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of flaws, not necessarily with him, but it's also with the team. But A.J. Brown, for me, is one that when he came out of college and after his rookie year, I thought this guy was the next Megatron, but also fast. I mean, he's faster than Megatron. He's way faster. So that's for me. Big, strong, physical, and flawed. The only person that popped up in my mind is A.J. Brown.
Wow, we might get some hate mail over that one. Hey, name that team. We're going to start with you, Coach. Disaster, cold, unpredictable, streak.
Seattle Seahawks. At times, Geno Smith and the boys are just a straight disaster from the first quarter to the fourth. It doesn't take long for them to be cold and go 4 3-and-outs. And you wonder, how did you go down the field on your first 2 drives and even come up with scores? And then your next 4 drives, you don't even get 6 yards. So how did y'all go cold so fast when you started out so hot? As far as the unpredictable part about it is, you never know what Pete Carroll is going to do. Unpredictable is throwing the ball on the goal line to win a Super Bowl instead of giving it to the beast. That's just as unpredictable as it gets, and it don't ever work for you. But they are dangerous enough that at any given time, the Seattle Seahawks can go on a 4, 5, 6 game winning streak and put themselves right back in the mix. But just when you think they're in the mix, here comes the disaster. Because all of a sudden they went cold, and Pete Carroll and the rest of them were making calls that were just unpredictable for the situation that they were in. So my team is the Seattle Seahawks with that description.
Dalton.
I hate to say it. There is only one team on my mind every week, and it's my New England Patriots. It is a disaster. Hell, we know it's cold as hell up there. Unpredictable. I would say that because every time I pick their sorry ass to win this year against a terrible opponent, they somehow play down and lose. I mean, this team, the only thing I can like, this team is so bad that I don't know. I don't know if we can recover from this. Yeah, we got the Super Bowls and this and that. San Francisco had the Super Bowls in the 80s and 90s, and look how long it took them to come back. I think we could be in the same horrible boat. You know, that's a boat. You get close to the coast and you're about to hit new land. You're about to find America, and one of them sorry ass pirates throws a cannonball through the main shaft of your boat, and you start sinking. And that's where we're at. And we might not be found by, you know, a dive team for the next 30 years. So I am really, you know, y'all, I know we always tend to be biased, but I am not being biased. Or this team is terrible. And I don't know if I want to see the future. If we could just cut NFL off for a couple years until we get back to being good, I'll enjoy that.
Seahawks, New England. What say you, Havoc?
Well, these two fellas made great picks, but I got to go with the LA Chargers. The only thing they don't have there on this list is cold. It's not very cold in LA, but they are a disaster. And here's why. When you've got a quarterback as talented as Justin Herbert, and you're just wasting his career year after year. Last year or 2 years ago, Brandon Staley goes for it when they would have tied the Raiders and made the playoffs and cost his team a playoff berth. That year, Justin Herbert threw 38 touchdowns. I asked this question, and it's rhetorical, guys, but name one quarterback that's thrown 38 touchdowns besides Justin Herbert that missed the playoffs, and I'll wait. Yeah, you're not going to find one. The point is the Chargers are an absolute disaster. They're unpredictable. Guys, the sad thing about it, on paper, this team could beat anybody in the league. They could. And I know Mike Williams, their number one receiver, or their number two receiver, is out for the year. He tore his ACL. But they've still got Keenan Allen. They've still got Austin Eckler. They've got Justin Herbert. On defense, I know Bosa got hurt, but Khalil Mack is one of the leaders in sacks. They've got Derwin James. This team's loaded with talent, so they're very unpredictable and they're streaky. They've been a disaster since Brandon Staley's gotten there. And guys, we all know the answer. And I don't want to make it obvious, but get rid of Brandon Staley because that's the clear answer. The Chargers are that team.
I have to add something here. Imagine if you took that LA Chargers roster and you put them in New England with Bill Belichick. I think this whole conversation's different.
I'm not sure.
I think so, because the one thing that it seems that is lapsing in LA, I agree with Havoc. He said it. This man, I wish we could put a highlight of Havoc's Charger hate video, because he said it since week 2. You mean to tell me that what was it? How many weeks Havoc did Herbert not throw a pick and they still lost?
It was like
or didn't even have a turnover as a team. You know, I think that the New England, that shows how bad and sorry the New England Patriots are and how bad the coaching is for the LA Chargers. Dude, the Chargers, I agree, have one of the top rosters. But if you look at their games, and Havoc's talked about it a lot, how many under 10 points losses do they have this year? And legit, it's come down to the wire and a terrible mistake happens. Hell, one game, they were winning the whole time, and Kirk Cousins made a mistake to help them win the game. So it's like, I am not a fan of the Chargers coaching staff. I think you got to get rid of him. He's terrible.
Yeah.
You know, when everybody's saying it, he's going to be gone without a doubt. You know, he's going to be gone, man. And I do think that team lacks leadership. They need a bona fide leader. And really, honestly, man, it's time for Justin. I mean, he's such a nice guy, you know, but it's time for him to ruffle some feathers, like Tom would do. Tom would ruffle some feathers, you know, and that's what. And he's got his money. You ain't gotta be nice no more. You guaranteed. Go ahead and start ruffling those feathers. Name that player: humble, clutch, doubted, leader. Start with you, Coach.
My player is going to probably surprise you because you would think I would go with a rookie, but I'm going with a vet. And my humble player is Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is not a rah-rah guy, but I could sit here and tell you if it came down to clutch, I can count on Trevor Lawrence. And there's no doubt in my mind when other people may think that he's not because you don't see him doing the Troy Aikman and getting in players' ass like they did back in the days. Trevor Lawrence has a different way of getting his line motivated. Troy Aikman
Yeah.
could come to the sideline and be like, we can't block a damn soul. I've been on my back all day. Somebody need to step up and be a leader, or you need to get the hell off of this football field. That's Troy Aikman. But for some reason, Trevor Lawrence can just take his helmet off, throw the hair back, and it's like the offensive line, no, let's keep this sprints clean. And they go out and they handle the job. So to me, my player is Trevor Lawrence.
Man, you know what, Coach? This is what I was talking about earlier when we was talking about Bryce Young. You know, most people wouldn't consider Trevor Lawrence like an alpha dog or nothing like that, but he do got that dog in him, and he is a leader. Yeah. And I think people respond to him because when he out there, that boy is in the game. He playing with that fire. You know what I'm saying?
Humble.
I know, he's very humble. I know he's super humble, and you know, and I know that he can do some Josh Allen kind of things from time to time, but you ain't gonna ever say that he ain't giving you effort out there on that field. What do you say, Dalton?
Well, you know, Coach, that was a great argument, and kind of brings up some memories. Trevor's wife and believe all of the skill players, like starting skill players' wives, came and ate at my restaurant one day, and she's even humble. You know, it's almost like you gotta like. For me, when I saw them out, she was the leader of this group, and we're not talking football. We're talking like, you know, the girls around her are kind of surrounding her because her husband is the quarterback, and is a leader of the football team. But I agree, when Trevor Lawrence comes, you know, he makes a mistake or he comes on the sideline, he shows enough attitude to where the guys know he cares, but he does it in the right way to where it's like people, they revolve around him, you know, and he is so humble. But I got to throw in another guy here because if not, I'm afraid somebody will leave him out. It's Jalen Hurts for me. You want to talk about a doubted leader. That is one that has been doubted his whole life. I mean, everywhere the kid has been, he's been successful. He's never opened his mouth in the wrong way. He's never been in trouble. He has been nothing but a top-notch individual, a leader. I mean, this guy got his job taken at Alabama, the best, you know, we're talking the perennial college football. And he comes back halftime of the SEC championship game when Tua's not doing very well, and he leads the Tide not only to the college football playoff, but to the national championship. And it's like this man not only, you know, did that, but then he goes to Oklahoma and got the blessing from Nick Saban. He's like, man, you need to go there. Show your talents with your arm because you got it. You're just, I mean, it's two in him. It's, you know, it is what it is. But I think the way that Jalen Hurts has handled every bump in the road, and then you talk about a Super Bowl loss that really is not his fault, in my opinion. He outplayed Patrick Mahomes and lost the Super Bowl. I think it's Jalen Hurts. That kid, if I was starting an NFL franchise right now, and I had every piece, but, you know, we're talking like, hey, we're on the NFL fantasy draft night. We ain't got a quarterback yet, and we're later in the rounds. If Hurts is available, I'm taking him. It is not all about talent. It's leadership, man. People, they rally around these guys. These guys are worker bees, and that's why Jalen Hurts, not going to lie, at Alabama early on in his career, I was a hater. I did not think he was that good. I thought he was a bona fide running quarterback and really got Alabama out of trouble with his legs. I was at a game in Death Valley. It was LSU, Alabama, Jalen's freshman year. And going into the fourth quarter, y'all, it was 7-0. And I believe the game ended. No, sorry, it was 0-0 going to the fourth quarter, and Alabama won 10-0. You know, that right there had me kind of thinking, I don't know about this cat, but he's resilient, man. And he actually had a big fourth quarter touchdown run to win that game. But Jalen Hurts is, if I'm a kid growing up right now, there's only one person to me in the NFL that I'm really looking at to hey, he's a role model from heaven. It is Jalen Hurts, man. I love the kid.
Wow, boy, Jalen Hurts need to send you some of the millions he got, boy, because you just gave him the praises from heaven, and I agree with you. What you say, Hap?
Man, Coach and Dalton, guys, outstanding takes. And Coach, I want to touch on this before I name my player. Coach mentioned Trevor Lawrence and that he has that dog in him. And I want to tell you guys, I watched a game last year when we beat the Tennessee Titans, and there was a defensive lineman of the Tennessee Titans that got in an offensive lineman's face of the Jaguars. And a lot of people didn't pay attention to this, but I did. And Trevor Lawrence stepped right into that guy's face. And I mean a 300-pounder, 6'5" monster. He got right in his face and told him off. That showed me something. I never expected Trevor Lawrence to do that. When I saw that, I learned that what you guys say and what I say, he's got that dog in him. He might be a nice guy outwardly, but here, he's got it.
Yes.
And now Jalen Hurts, same thing. I mean, these were great takes, but my player is Brock Purdy. And here's why. He's the definition of humble, clutch. He's been doubted. I doubted Brock Purdy. The first time I saw Brock Purdy step on a football field, I thought, man, this backup will play 2 or 3 games and he'll be out of the league. Those are my first thoughts. But what did Brock Purdy do? He kept winning ball games. He kept throwing touchdown passes. He kept throwing it to the right guy over and over and over again. And sure, he wasn't making sexy throws like Justin Herbert or Brett Favre or Ben Roethlisberger. He doesn't have the greatest arm. But what does Brock Purdy do? He consistently throws it to the open man. And in my opinion, that's a rare skill to be taught. There's a lot of gifted quarterbacks out there that don't have this ability. And Brock consistently plays within the offense. Guys are going to crap on me saying game manager, but he plays within the offense, manages the game, and throws it to the right guy. And as far as leadership, here's the best evidence of Brock Purdy's leadership. When he got injured last year and tore his UCL in the NFC Championship game, which in my opinion is why the 49ers lost, I'm convinced a healthy Brock Purdy, they beat the Eagles and go to the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy tore his UCL in that game. Now, throughout Brock Purdy's whole injury and rehab process, all of us know Trey Lance was on the team at the time and they brought in Sam Darnold. There wasn't one player on that team that didn't say they didn't want Brock Purdy to start or that Brock Purdy wasn't going to start. And to me, that's a great example of his leadership because last year was only his first year. And guys, Brock Purdy did in his first year what a lot of quarterbacks never do. He won 2 playoff games and he got to the NFC Championship game.
You know, I think that Brock, Mr. Irrelevant is becoming more and more relevant. I still have to see some more. To me, he had a little stretch there where he lost his way. But I still think it's kind of early for him. But what he has done is undeniable. I never thought about him as this with this description, but I think it's a perfect description for him. I like all of y'all takes. Let's wrap it up. Name that team. Confusing, capable, almost there. Have it.
I got to go with the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins to me are a very confusing team. Every time I'm ready to be a believer in them, they go and play a great team. And like I said, What happens when the little dog goes in the yard? They get bit by a bigger dog. They're very capable. I mean, we've all seen it. We saw him score 70 against Denver, and we just gave Sean Payton. We had a segment giving Sean Payton his flowers. So, I mean, we know they're capable. They can play. They're a very confusing team. I mean, this team's loaded with talent. They even got Jalen Ramsey back on the defense, Xavier Howard. They got a good head coach, and they're definitely almost there. They're not there this year. I don't expect the Dolphins to do much this year besides maybe win one playoff game, but I don't see them as real contenders. So definitely me, the Miami Dolphins.
Dangerous team. You just never know what's going to happen with them. I agree. They are confusing. What do you say, Coach?
Well, I'm kind of like what Havoc said when it comes to the Miami Dolphins. They want to be the little dog that gets ate up by the big dog, which tells you that they're nothing but a chihuahua. They got the heart of a lion, but they ran up on a pit bull. But my team is the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
Because when I say confusing, it's like y'all don't have your stuff together sometime, because when you need those timeouts, you don't have those timeouts because you were confused on everything when it comes to the play calling, and you ended up burning them. Because if you look at the Ravens, they burn more timeouts on offense, not trying to get into the right play, but they can't get into a play. You know, they even simplified the playbook for Lamar Jackson to where it's purple formation, play 46. He goes in the huddle, he calls the play because you can't put him in the headset too much. So that's telling me that y'all are a little bit confusing on trying to get everything together as far as your terminology, what to really look for when you get to the line of scrimmage. Have at least 15 to 17 seconds left on the play clock so you can distinguish coverage and know where to set up your protection. Because when y'all do snap the ball, he hadn't had time to set up the protection, and he's usually running for his life the minute that the ball is snapped. So I think that the Baltimore Ravens are a little bit confusing at times, but are they capable of doing it? Man, yes, they are capable of doing it. And I think they're just needing a few more little bitty weapons, and I'm telling you, they are there. So to me, it's the Baltimore Ravens because, like I said, man, you spend too much time in the offensive huddle to have to come out of the offensive huddle, and you only got 8 seconds to try to get this play off. You need at least 7 more seconds so that you can see what's going on around you, know how to set up your protection and your coverage, and you will be more of an explosive team instead of the explosive plays coming off of whenever your quarterback takes off and run, because teams have to defend that. When everybody says Lamar Jackson is not a prolific passer, he's a very good passer, but nobody is a prolific passer when you only got 8 seconds to snap the ball and it's everything going on the defense. He needs more time when he comes out of that huddle. So they need to quit being so confusing and everything in the huddle, because they're capable of getting the job done, and you give them a few extra pieces on defense and maybe one good solid piece on offense, which is a running back. And I can see the Ravens being a team that's actually being talked about with all the other teams in that league, instead of in that conference, instead of just looking at it as they're in the AFC North. So what's the Bengals? What's the Bears? What's the Browns? And who else is it over there? The Steelers. Because when we look at the Baltimore Ravens, that's who we're really looking at, is Browns, Bengals, and Steelers. When they're actually capable of, we can look at them as the whole entire AFC if they quit confusing themselves so much, burning those timeouts, and find just a few more puzzles in this upcoming draft. I think the Baltimore Ravens is that team.
Almost down. What do you say, Dalton?
So unfortunately, I have 2 teams that fit this profile. And I'll go over the first one real quick. The first one, the Indianapolis Colts at 6-5. Anthony Richardson is, I guess, out for the season. Has been out for a long while. But now, are we reaching I'm going to use the word confusing. Are we reaching a possible quarterback battle
Controversy.
controversy in the offseason? Minshew has been a good player everywhere he's went. Uncle Rico, as I like to call him, this guy can play. And I know AR was pretty successful, but maybe this team is better around Gardner Minshew. So I think they're capable. They're almost there. They're actually in contention for the playoffs right now. So I think the Colts have got to be on that list. And then this next team, let's be honest, they have to be the worst 7-4 football team that I have ever laid my eyes on, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Offensively, they have to be the worst that I've ever seen. You mean to tell me that they didn't even have to put up 17 points and beat the Cleveland Browns this weekend? I think they are just abysmal on offense. And I think it's centered around Kenny Pickett, and not a lot of people are, wanting to push him out for whatever reason. I mean, we just saw the Steelers get rid of Joshua Dobbs in the offseason. I think Joshua Dobbs is more capable than Kenny Pickett to lead the Steelers to a better record than what they have now. I'm not saying Joshua Dobbs was the answer and should be the career quarterback, but I don't see this relationship between Kenny Pickett and the Steelers lasting long. We've already got rid of Matt Canada, which we diagnosed was the problem earlier in the year. But, I mean, now you really have to start looking. Is Kenny Pickett the only problem left? Because you have talent at wide receiver. You have talent on the offensive line. You have talent at the running back position. You've got it on defense. Defense is the only thing keeping you in ball games.
Yeah.
I think the Steelers, I haven't looked at the stats, but they've got to be in the bottom 10, maybe the bottom 5 in offensive production. It is definitely confusing. They're capable, and I mean, almost there. They're already there with that bad of a squad. So Steelers got to be on that list for me.
And to add a little bit to that, that's the reason why I chose the Baltimore Ravens, because of what Dalton just said. Cleveland Browns and Steelers had a game that they played that was absolutely really nothing. The Steelers need help out this world, because you were just talking about them. But once again, what division is the Baltimore Ravens in? And those are two teams that we're just looking at that the Ravens got to beat. We're not mentioning Kansas City. We're not mentioning Buffalo. We're not mentioning Miami. We're not mentioning Jacksonville. We're talking about two teams in that division. So that's the reason why they're not quite there yet, but they're almost there, because we can't separate them from winning that division as opposed to being a winner of that conference.
I agree, man. It's that whole AFC North is kind of weird right now.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's look at this one. Okay, starting with you, Dalton. Pick this game and tell me what you think.
I'm telling you, fly, Eagles, fly. That's what's going to happen. I just, when I look at games like this, we've all picked all year. This is more than likely going to be the NFC Championship game, and I think we would all be happy with a rematch. I honestly would love to see this game. I don't think it's going to play out this way, but I would love to see this game go back to San Francisco for the NFC Championship and see a healthy Brock Purdy and see how Jalen Hurts would fare in that type of situation. Because let's be honest, if San Francisco rolls into Philadelphia in late December, early January, it is not going to be a place you want to be. That place is Philadelphia is the absolute armpit of the United States, and I've always said that. It is just the people are not friendly. It's cold. It stinks. I mean, you go out there leaving sunny California, not going to fare well for you. But I'm not sure. Where is this game played, Barry?
Is it not in? I think it's in Philly. I'll have to look it up. I'll look it up and tell you about it.
So, I mean, if we're just looking at the teams, yeah, we've seen struggles from the 49ers, a little bit. But I mean, I just think that the Eagles are a better team. They're better defensively, they're better offensively. And it's not by a lot, but to me, they are better. So, um, I think that the Eagles will win this game. And I would go to say that it's going to be
In
like the
Philly. It's
last
in
two
Philly.
Eagles games. It's
It's
in
in Philly.
Philly.
Yeah.
I would have to say this is going to be like the last two Philly games. It's going to be a close ball game, and I see Philly winning it at the end. Whether it's a field goal or a Jalen Hurts touchdown, or hell, that whole load the bus up and then push everybody into the end zone. Nobody can stop it. It is like the most. I wouldn't be shocked if the NFL starts putting regulations on that because it's unmatchable. You can't do anything with it.
You know what? I think if they better not touch that play, I think people love it. I don't want to see
They
them.
can't, man. It would go against everything that we stand for.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a problem with the play. It's something that they've tapped into. And I mean, my God, look at the players. And they could add a couple out there to even make the pile a little bit bigger. You could add a Jordan Davis who lined up at fullback a couple times for the Georgia Bulldogs. That play is awesome to watch. But I got the Philadelphia Eagles here.
Havoc.
I got to go with the 49ers. I just think the Eagles are due to lose one. I think it has a lot to do with the timing in the season. If this game had been played a couple weeks ago, I would have picked the Eagles. Teams are very evenly matched, though. It could go either way based on the turnover battle. I mean, obviously, whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win this game, but I got to go with San Francisco, especially since, guys, a lot of people are denigrating this, but they just got Trent Williams back healthy a couple weeks ago. That's why Brock Purdy's play improved because he got his left tackle back, and they got Debo back. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go with the 49ers in this one.
Yeah, Coach, they got the Eagles as a 3-point underdog at home. Can you believe it? What say you?
Well, to the tush push point, I'm just like you. Leave a play alone. Go tell your quarterback to start squatting 600 pounds, and you'll have a Jalen Hurts tush push. But I look at this ball game and I say to myself, the 49ers are going to go into Philadelphia and they're going to give them a tight game, which is probably why the point spread is where it is. But the 49ers know, as well as the rest of us, that the Eagles is going to have the number one seed locked up. And the bottom line is the road to the Super Bowl is going to have to go through Philly. So I think that what the San Francisco 49ers are going to do, they're going to do two things in this ball game. They're going to see what they can get, and Shanahan is going to call things that he see that can work. And he's going to see what can work in any environment. But I don't look at the 49ers going in there saying this is a must-win ball game, considering the fact you're going to be the number 2 seed. All you got to do is make sure you lock out the Seahawks. So I think what's going to happen is San Francisco is going to go in. They're going to give you that 80% game. And if a lot of people don't know what that 80% game is, that game where, why would you call that play? Well, that's a different type of play in January than you would run in early December in Philadelphia. And I think that's what the 49ers are going to do. 9 times out of 10, what's going on in Philadelphia late in the season? It's snow. It's bad weather. So what are the 49ers going to do? They're going to go in there and they're going to give you their quote unquote semi-cold game, knowing what we're going to have to come back and do when it actually is cold, because that's going to favor the Eagles. And the reason why it's going to favor the Eagles is because the road to the Super Bowl is going to have to go through Philadelphia. So you're going to get a good game out of it. But this is the X factor to me to make me say this might be another reason why it's cold. One addition that was made to the San Francisco 49ers is
Chase
a
Young.
cold weather addition. Exactly. He's coming out of Washington, so the cold weather means nothing to him. So when you sit and say, well, Bosa doesn't play good in cold weather, you got his beast of a partner on the other side, so it's going to balance out. That's why it was such a smart move by him. They knew that we just don't go out and get some dude to come in to be, the second beast to Bosa. We're gonna have to get a guy that's not only second beast to Bosa, but second beast to Bosa. And the difference is Bosa turns into that beast when it's warm. This guy turns into that beast when it's cold. So we should be able to handle what we need to handle to set the edges and get some pressure on the quarterback because I'm used to it. So I'll look at Philadelphia maybe squeezing out a tight one. I'm talking about like a little rabbit turd, but look for it to be a good game. And I don't think San Francisco is actually going to show you everything because, like I said, with one loss right now, no matter what goes on for the rest of the season, Philadelphia's got the number one seed locked up, and the road to the Super Bowl is going to go through the Eagles.
But you know what, Coach? I kind of feel like San Francisco gonna go in there and make a statement.
They could.
I think this game right here, in fact, the way I feel, if they don't go in here and make a statement against the Eagles in this game, this is what Dalton was talking about, the Brock Purdy game, the Chase Young game, the Bosa and the Young. They got to win this game. They got to go in here. And no, it's not a must win, but just for a little momentum, just to let the Eagles know that we here too, and go in and beat them at home. This is a great opportunity. Now, if those boys got any pride, Shanahan, all of them, you do what you have to do to go in there and win this game. And I do believe that if they get the activity that they need on the edge, Hurts might be in problem. Hurts might be hurt.
San Francisco only lost 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah, 3.
So they can hand Philadelphia number 2, and if anybody else hand them a loss and they do win this ball game, it could flip to the West Coast. You're right, Barry.
That's what they want. They want that. They want that. They want that thing to come through them. I mean, to me, this is what happened in New England all those years. Tom Brady got to come through Boston. Okay? That's why I think this game right here is going to tell me everything that I need to know about San Francisco 49ers. Hey, Silicon Valley ain't looking at this game as a prep game. They saying, you representing us. Let's see what you got. Because right now, the whole country is on Eagles. It ain't the Chiefs. It ain't the Dolphins. It ain't the Ravens. It ain't nobody but the Eagles. And that's what we all own. Okay? San Francisco go in and punch him in the mouth, and the whole country going to say, oh, here come the gold rush.
You might make me change my pick'ems.
I'm just saying, man, it's going to be a game. Look, real quick, guys. The AFC, this is the playoff picture right now. Is it what you thought? You think it's going to hold? What do you think, Dalton?
Well, I'm actually, if I started the season, I don't think I had the Ravens up at number 1. I'm not shocked with all the struggles we've seen from the Chiefs to see them not at the number 1 spot. But I don't think it's shocking to see them in the number 2 either. I'm not shocked at all to see Jacksonville at 3. I mean, we kind of talked about that in the preview show before week 1. We all kind of thought about that. The biggest shock to me, I've already touched on it, is the Steelers at 7-4, and that's because they have to be the worst 7-4 team I've ever seen. The Browns and the Colts are the biggest shocks for me, and that's because of injuries. Both teams are out of starting quarterback. Both teams have also had their starting running back out for most of the season. So that's one thing I don't know how. Maybe the rest of the AFC is so bad, but I'm okay with this list for now.
Yeah, it's crazy at the bottom of there. That's just weird. To see the Colts, even the Browns, man. I
Mhm.
mean, oh my God. I think maybe this upcoming week 13, maybe that we're gonna see this is when the truth is gonna come out, man, because I can't see the Browns without that quarterback, without Watson, without Chubbs. Carson Ford is playing pretty good. But just seems like with all of that chaos, you wouldn't think that they'd be sitting here at number 6, man. It's crazy. What do you say, Havoc?
Well, I'm not surprised about the first three teams, Ravens, Chiefs, and Jags. They're about what I thought they would be. Now, not in necessarily the same order, but I did expect these three teams to be playoff teams. Now, I'm pretty surprised by the Browns, like you guys said, just because they've been decimated by injuries and they lost their backup quarterback this Sunday, Dorian Thompson Robinson. So I do expect the Houston Texans to supersede the Browns here and take that spot. I think the way CJ Stroud's been playing, he's going to sneak his way into the playoffs. Might not sneak his way in. He might just freaking kick down the door and force his way in. But the Colts too, like Steve said earlier, they've been a surprising team. Gardner Minshew, a backup quarterback, and they're winning ball games with Gardner. Now they did get Jonathan Taylor a lot. Jonathan Taylor is a very dynamic running back. He's rushed for 2,000 yards in the past. And the Steelers, too, is a surprise. Now, I do think the Steelers will maintain that. They have the stroke of luck this year, guys. I can't explain it, but every time they need to get lucky, they do. And most likely it'll run out in the playoffs. But I do think the Steelers will win enough games to get there. Probably the only thing I would change is the Browns, replace them with the Texans there.
Coach.
Well, honestly, to me, the first four really showed up because I don't see anybody in the East challenging the Dolphins because the Buffalo Bills are shot, and we already know that the Patriots are no hope. And what are the Jets? So I look at really all four of these teams are really locked. Now, as far as the Steelers, the Browns, and the Colts go, somewhere along this line, I really think that maybe the Houston Texans could come in and kind of flip their way in there with the way Stroud is playing and maybe knock the Colts out of that picture. But as far as the Steelers and the Browns, I look at it as going to be a little shaky on y'all's end because the one team in the AFC that I didn't have any hope in or thought it was just going to be straight dumpster juice for the whole entire season, gotta admit that Barry has really changed my mind on it. And even though they're not on this list, we really need to be looking at where them dadgum Denver Broncos may finish at on this.
Yeah.
Because 2 to 3 more wins, and we got the Broncos in this picture. Because it only gonna take one more loss to knock the Steelers or the Browns out of this picture. And it's only gonna take the Texans to beat the Colts to put them in that picture. So I'm feeling what my man B said over there. Watch out and see if those dadgum Broncos don't sneak their way into this list. And don't be surprised if, like Dalton said, that terrible offensive performance of the Steelers is what's going to drop them out of the list. Because if the Steelers at any point in this season right now with it getting late, if they start getting to where they have to really try to come back, they don't have that. So the Steelers is not a comeback squad on offense. So I look at them, the bottom three, to be a little bit of a shakeup with the Broncos and the Texans somewhere in that mix, but I'm pretty confident in the first four because I don't see anybody in the first four in their division really giving them a challenge for where we are right now in the season.
Man, in other words, football is getting really, really, really good.
Hmm.
Hey, fellas, let's move this thing. Let's wrap up with the NFC. We're gonna wrap up with this tonight. I had a mock draft session planned, but we're gonna come back next week, or if we can get it in before then, and we'll do the mock draft. I don't feel like we have enough time tonight, but let's go ahead and wrap up. Coach, go ahead and keep going. Talk about the NFC.
NFC to me is pretty much a lot where it is because I don't see any other teams in the NFC really showing any signs of life of doing anything. You know, Buccaneers have already faded off with the faker Mayfield, like I told you they would. But once again, we got the Atlanta Falcons in the mix, and arguably, to me, the weakest division in the NFC. So even though I just talked the Buccaneers out of it, between the Buccaneers, the Falcons, and the Saints, it's a coin flip. The only thing that's a positive in the NFC North is the Carolina Panthers is going to be watching the game at home when you and I will be watching the games at home when the playoffs roll around. That's guaranteed. So, Bryce, not hating on you, buddy, but I know you'll be free. Can I come watch the game with you? But but as far as everything else, man, I'm actually saying that those first three, Eagles, 49ers, Lions, straight lock. Dallas Cowboys, you're gonna be there. You may not get past the first round, but you're gonna be there. And as far as the Seahawks, it goes back to what I was saying about the 49ers and that number 2 seed and being able to keep the number 2 seed. That's the only team that can knock them out of the number 2 seed. And the Vikings, all y'all got to do is just hold on.
And one more thing about the AFC, y'all do realize that the Steelers only have to win two more games, and then old Mike Tomlin have himself another winning season, because you know that's what they play for out there in Pittsburgh. They don't play for Super Bowl; they play for winning season. So, what do you say, Happy?
Oh wow, that was a good one. They definitely play for winning seasons in Pittsburgh. Yeah, right here, the first three look like locks to me: the Eagles, 49ers, and Lions. The Falcons, Barry. I know that's your team, but
That's not my team. I said they will win. It was busy.
oh, okay, fair enough. Okay, you picked them to win the division. I like that. You backtracked on them being your team. Fair. So the Falcons, I'm not sold on them. That could go either way. Although if they use Bijan Robinson better, they could improve their results. Now, my Dallas Cowboys, they're a tricky team because you've seen it this year. Dak Prescott shows flashes of brilliance. You know, he teases us every year. He's like that. He's like that hot blonde that everyone wanted to go to prom with. You know, hey, maybe I'll go with you. Maybe I'll go with you. Well, Dak, we'll see what happens in January. Then the Seattle Seahawks, yeah, they're probably going to stay there, but I don't expect them to make any real noise. Yeah, this looks about right. Like Coach said, the NFC, this looks set to me. Like the rest of the teams, I don't see as major contenders like the Saints or Buccaneers. Obviously, the LA Rams are doing nothing. The Packers with Jordan Love, I don't see it with them. It looks to me like it's pretty set here with the NFC.
I like to come back and see, because I think it's going to be some mixer. I think 6 and 7 on both sides. It's going to get interesting, guys. It always does. So let's see what happens with that. And like I think it was coaches that said that Falcons thing can go either way. I listen. I'm not nearly as confident on that Falcons pick as I was beginning the season. Hey, Vigo, wrap us up and take us out.
Well, first I'm going to throw a shot at Havoc here. You're right about Dak Prescott. He might be the hot blonde everybody wanted to go to prom with, but you go into lunch and your buddy tells you she's done slept with 10 different dudes and you change your mind. So that's what I think about Dak Prescott. But on this NFC here, I agree. There's realistically, I'm looking at the standings here. There is about 3 teams that, maybe 4 that have a real legitimate chance of getting into this picture. And those teams are Green Bay, LA Rams, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay. The only reason I say New Orleans and Tampa Bay, they are 1 and 2, tied and 1 loss behind the Atlanta Falcons. There's a lot of shaking up that could happen and let's be honest, there might be a better division in the CFL than what we have in the NFC South. This is terrible. We brought it up at the beginning of the year, and I think that goes to show how bad, realistically, the Carolina Panthers are. They are god-awful. But I agree with this whole thing, and I think what stands out, if anything stands out, is, I mean, think about this: the Atlanta Falcons host the Dallas Cowboys in Week 1, or the playoffs, or the Seahawks, or the Vikings. I mean, come on, you want to host a playoff game in Atlanta with this team? That's why I think the NFL. It's okay to have division leaders, but let's be honest, man. Do you really think that a wild card leader and somebody like the Seahawks or the Vikings with a way better record should go on the road just because you won your, I mean, for lack of better words, shitty division? I mean, that's where the NFL really needs to maybe change it up here and look at some other things. I'm glad this year doesn't seem like one of those years where you have a team miss the playoffs at like a 10-7 or an 11-6, and then you got these Falcons come in there at like 6 and whatever, or I guess, you know, who knows what it could be. There's a lot of different scenarios, 7-10, and they make the playoffs. Come on.
I will say, man, that Mercedes-Benz, man, it's just like any team in Atlanta. Well, you know, they historically been so bad, but that place is going to be rocking. And you put together a little run game and take care of the ball, and you never know.
No, I agree with you. I just think that it's one of those things. Like, I do think we should honor division champions, but like if they have a worse record than some of these other places, it's weird for me to say that. But
lower seed.
I agree with this. I think the Vikings are probably the most shocking on this list with all the turmoil they've had and all the close losses they had at the beginning of the season. After watching this last week, I don't know if the Vikings. I don't have much hope in them. I mean, Josh Dobbs, I think he threw 4 interceptions. He's got to protect the football a little bit better. He's got a good team around him. But I tell you, my sleeper team, and I picked them early on in the year as the division champs. Don't be shocked if you see the Lions in the NFC Championship. I think they are well-rounded. They, in my opinion, this might shock a lot of people, they are the best coached football team in all of the NFL right now. I think Dan Campbell has just, I mean, he went in there in his first 3 years, he had a losing record. He might even still have a losing record, or it's about 500. This guy's turned this program around. He's drafted well. They made a very risky decision in getting rid of DeAndre Swift for Jahmyr Gibbs and the other running back they have there. Can't think of his name right off the top of my head, but it worked out. Yeah, DeAndre Swift is doing great in Philadelphia, but that team fits him a little bit better than the Lions did, and I think that's what you see there. And then this 1-2 punch, when Gibbs comes in the game, it's fun to watch. So kudos to the Lions. I did call it, but don't be shocked if they're in the NFC Championship, even though none of us would have thought that at the beginning of the year. But I am okay with this, Barry.
You know, one last thing, and you can take us out. But I was thinking about, you said that the Lions, Campbell, pretty much you're saying that the best coach. I think it's time to start giving the Eagles coach some love.
I agree.
I think he's just like a little weird little dude, man. But you talking about, look, man, 10-1, maybe back-to-back Super Bowls. Come on, man. It's time to start giving that dude a little love. I know they got players, man, but he is keeping them together, and that organization looks real, man. So I want to give Sirianni a little love too.
And you know what's funny, Barry? I'm glad you said his name. There are a lot of football fans that could not name the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think that is an absolute shame because he has came in there and turned that program around. Yeah, he's got the players, but they're smart. They're drafting well. They're coaching well. And the players are doing what they're supposed to. That is a very, very well-ran organization. And I think that is the most props to Sirianni.
Yeah.
But what a great show it was. Anybody else got anything? Hey, well, Friday night, I want to bring a preview for you. 8 o'clock is the Pac-12 championship. We plan to meet and go live at 7 p.m. to go over our SEC conference championship picks that we didn't get to go over last night. And maybe we can even mix in a little NFL draft because, man, I had the stats ready to go and some different scenarios I really wanted to talk about on this show. But time got the best of us again tonight. This has been the Chop 'em Lot podcast presented by DJ's Clam Shack. Always on Wednesday night, the cast of Steve Dalton, the voice of Continental Championship Wrestling, Beast of Kane, your host, Coach Price, the offensive coordinator, I might add, of the Dalton Danger. Can't wait to see this season. I wish we could watch y'all on TV, but Havoc, the Thoroughbred Havoc, the CCW former tag team champion. I know he's still upset about that, but I'm hearing word that there might be a chance at redemption soon. We'll see what that means for you, Havoc. But as for the Brotherhood, as for the Chop and Block podcast, that is all we have tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, we about to do it. Watch us get into it. We some